Well, a huge welcome to Best of Rivals podcast. Immediate reaction from us for some of the knockout games. And we've just seen quite a good game, I thought, Ryan. Ivory Coast against Norway with Haaland popping up, as we've seen to his great determination in the Premier League with a late goal. And what's your immediate reaction from that game?
Yeah, I mean, either team could have won it really. I thought Ivory Coast might have made their way back into the game and would have won it themselves. But Norway staying true to form, so keeping tight and just relying on their goal scorer. And he doesn't get many touches, but when he does, it's usually in the back of the net, and that's what you need from your centre forward.
Yeah, I think they've got a pretty good team if you look at it. So Noosa was really impressive today. I haven't really seen much of him prior to this game. You've got Bob who can come on as well. Sorloth has been great for Atletico Madrid. So honestly, I think they'll give Brazil a real game. And Brazil are quite weak in those fullback positions with Douglas Santos and Danilo. You can imagine Noosa and Bob just getting at them too. And clearly there's that mouth-watering tussle of Haaland against Gabriel as well. So I'm sure he'll be in his ear about the recent penalty miss, amongst other things.
Well, he's still won more trophies in the last 2 years than Haaland, so I think Gabriel's probably got the edge in the banter wars between the two of them.
But it'd be a great game though, that tie, I guess, in last 16, that's England's side of the draw as well. So it's a really a key one for people to watch back home. They really just scrape past Japan as well. I mean, Japan in the first half absolutely dominated Brazil. So it was only really in that second half, it was between about minutes 50 and 60, Brazil were really on fire as well. And it was only the goalkeeper, Suzuki, that kept them in it. But after that, Japan rallied. And it was a late Bruno Guimaraes moment of brilliance as well. Martinelli, to be fair, it was on a plate for Martinelli. Even though he's an Arsenal player, couldn't even miss that, could he?
Well, if he was in an Arsenal shirt, he probably would have missed it.
True. It's true. It's true. Yeah, I think they're an interesting one, Brazil, because and just moving on to Brazil now, but Vini is such a key player for them, and without Rafinha, I don't think Hyan is anywhere near the level as well. Cunha's played well and he's dropped in. Cunha's been key for their positional play, and 3 goals is nothing to be sort of laughed at for this tournament for him. But then they do look a bit. They look beatable, Brazil, from what
Yeah,
I've seen so far.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, Vinny and Guimaraes have both been excellent. Arguably, could be both in the team of the tournament so far. Obviously, with the forwards, there's been many to choose from.
Mm.
So, but every time they've gone forward, and the ball's landed to Vinny, he's looked a threat, hasn't he? And when he cuts onto that right foot from the left, I mean, it's almost guaranteed to be a goal. And Guimaraes, I think, has probably been the standout number 10, to be fair, alongside Elise when he's been playing in the number 10 position. Really creative, probably even more advanced than we see him at Newcastle. And the only real worry for Brazil, if I was a Brazilian fan, would be their midfield, sort of defensive midfield. Um, you know, Casemiro, he got the goal, but still arguably could have potentially been at fault for some of the goals along the way. Hasn't probably got the legs anymore. And like you mentioned, the fullbacks looked a bit shaky, though Gabriel and Marquinhos have both been pretty solid. But we predicted, didn't we, that they'll be an attacking threat, but defensively potentially weak. And I think against the bigger teams, that'll be exploited. Japan nearly got there. They got the goal and then tried to sit back. But sometimes you just need a bit of star quality, and that what gets you through in a tournament. And we saw that from the Brazilian
Mm.
team. Can they keep on doing it? That's the question. But what I can say is, Carlo Ancelotti's got some balls. He went for a front four in the 66th minute, 1-1 up. I don't think many managers at all in the whole tournament would have gone for that move when it's only 1-1. And fair play, it worked out. They had Vinny, Martinelli, Hendrick, and who did they have out on the right at the time? I think,
Hyan out on the right,
yeah,
so they're
yeah.
really
So
going for it.
I don't even know what position Martinelli was actually covering because Vinny was on the left. I think he was almost like a
He
second
was a 10
striker.
in a way. It was it was strange from Don Carlo. And obviously Neymar was left on the bench as well. So he's clearly
Yeah,
not fit.
yeah. But I mean, what it does show is you've got to, particularly against the low sitting teams, and England have faced two now and struggled to find a goal. That sort of throwing more men forward. I think potentially Tuchel can take a page out of Ancelotti's book and potentially look to play up two at top at some stage in the game if it is the case that we're still playing with half an hour to go, rather than just
Mm.
getting through to extra time and risking penalty shootouts. Let's go for it. We've got Watkins, we've got Tony that you can bring on and almost play with a front two. And then just linking back to Haaland, I think what Haaland's done very well is just keep position. And then he's played it patiently, almost unselfishly, whereas occasionally, and he's a quality player, but you could argue Kane cannot sometimes be to the detriment of the England team, because when he does drop back, when he is struggling and not getting the touches on the ball, he naturally drops even deeper. Then when we do attack and we need that centre forward just there to stick it in like a Haaland, Kane's not there. So potentially I could see Tuchel changing things up. Doesn't mean necessarily that Harry Kane comes out, but could we play with a Kane and a Watkins at the same time, knowing that Kane is the one that drops back? The only
Mm.
problem with that, of course, is you've got the likes of Bellingham that likes to occupy that position in the number 10 area. And I've seen slightly similar to the frustrations of the last tournament where too many people occupying that number 10 space and not enough actually in the goal scoring spaces. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult against Congo to break them down. I just wonder if it's worth just starting with two up top.
Yeah, I mean, we can get onto England fully later in the program, but just in terms of lack of firepower up front, perhaps Germany are the key ones to pick out as well. So Havertz has been their only real cutting edge, to be fair to him, over the course of this tournament. And what I saw was a really dogged performance by Paraguay where they lack the star quality. Okay, they've got a sprinkle of that in Enciso, but they had it in determination in spades. So I think they thoroughly deserve to go through with that game plan of just grab a goal on the break, defend, make it hard work for the Germans. And it was amazing really. So someone like Tar, he went from hero to villain in the space of about 20 minutes, you know, with that late goal to win it to then blazing the penalty over. And honestly, as an Englishman, you can't help but laugh and watch three Germans miss penalties back to back to back in such embarrassing fashion, frankly. So I think whilst England fans might be sort of neutral towards Brazil, if not slightly positive, back in the UK, we're all toasting Paraguay and Ascension over here. So yeah, I don't know if you caught the full game as well, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, both penalty shootouts last night actually were painful to watch. I don't know if it's still scars from the Champions League final, but maybe there's something about the big centre backs taking a penalty and
Mm.
skying it over. Um, but even the other penalties by the German players pretty poor. And I was rubbing my eyes during the watching the Dutch penalty shootout when Timber stepped up, and I thought, hang on a minute, I thought Timber's injured, but of course it was his brother. It looked exactly the same. So that was me being a bit tired. But yeah, some really poor penalties, really. And the credit to the Paraguayan keeper, particularly with that save
Mm.
where he almost predicted that they'll go to his right and sort of held form and stuck his hand out. That was pretty epic. I mean, it looked simple, but it wasn't. Like to have the balls to trust the instinct of where it's going and stay upright, because if he dives, then he's probably not getting up there. So that was a good shout. And fair play to them. They stuck it out and got the win. Whether they can do the same over, would it be France in their route to final?
It would,
Probably going
yeah,
to be a
it would.
difficult tie for them.
Yeah, I mean that'll be a repeat of the '98 last 16 game when Paraguay played, it might have been quarter game actually, when Paraguay played France on their route to the final and Laurent Blanc stepped up with a golden goal as it was back then. But
Oh,
I can't see, as well as they did against Germany with that front four of France, I can't see that them holding France. But then again, you never know. This game against Sweden for France could be an exciting one because I can imagine, hopefully, Sweden just say, right, we're going to go at you. We've got Isak, we've got Gyökeres. Screw it. We're going to try and take you on man for man. It could be quite a good game. I just hope they don't shut up shop and wait for the inevitable, frankly.
yeah. I could definitely see Sweden scoring one, maybe even two, but I can also equally see France scoring
Mm.
5 or 6 against that Swedish team. So I think it'd be quite a high scoring game. Potentially, if Sweden can get the first goal, could be interesting, but can't see them even doing the job over France. France were pretty epic against, albeit a weakened Norway team in the last group game. But the fact that they, if it's not Mbappe scoring the 2, 3 goals in a game. It's Dembele, and it's just Elise pulling strings in the back, and they've still
Mm.
got even more firepower off the bench. We've spoken a lot about this French side, but it's really a joy to watch. It's going to be interesting actually who becomes the star of that team by the end of the tournament. Thought it was written on the wall after the first 2 games from Mbappe, but those goals by Dembele absolutely epic.
They were, and it's looking good for France as well. Their side, the draws completely opened up now. The big names have gone out. Germany going out, the Netherlands going out, as we mentioned, and it was really only, bless him, Wout Weghorst that had any kept any respect. He obviously had a great World Cup 3.5 years ago, and then he did a Harry Maguire penalty as well. But the rest of the penalties, I mean, as you say, Timbers was absolutely awful, and then Somerville was just, blast it, not even down the middle as well. So the Dutch, I don't know, the Dutch have gone off the boil a little bit too, in fairness. And you did say at the start of the tournament you don't fancy them to pull up trees. And this Moroccan team are a very good team. Hakimi, as I've said consistently on this channel, is the best right back in the world. Saibari has had a phenomenal tournament. That's 3 goals in 3 games and the winning penalty as well.
Mm.
So I think they'll be a hard team to beat when I imagine them and France actually play each other in the quarters. But
Oh,
yeah,
is it?
looking forward to that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
definitely. They've been the one team probably out of those that were the dark horses that we predicted at the start that I think you actually mentioned, despite failing miserably on some of your other predictions, like Turkey, for example. But you did say
I was trying to
Morocco.
be nice
But
to you.
but no, like said, I did mention Germany and Holland not being the teams of previous tournaments, and that was shown, I think, last night. So it's no surprise to me that both of them have been knocked out. If anyone doesn't believe me, then just watch episode 1 where I made that exact prediction.
Oh, there we go. There we go. We'll put a link in the description for this podcast in that case. And then just before we get on to England as well, it's worth just touching on. I don't want to speculate too much, but in my opinion, the draw has really opened up for Argentina as well. I mean, their route to the semis looks to be Cape Verde, then the winner of Australia against Egypt, and then the winner of Colombia's and Switzerland's side of the draw, which, to be honest, if you said that as a route to semi final, and their group was fairly easy too, Messi could get 10, 11 goals before the
Yeah.
semi-finals is remarkable, really. And I like the way the draws worked out. It's almost a European side that we've referenced on the north side of the draw, and then a southern hemisphere side with Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, and then England making up the numbers. Hopefully, not Mexico, Ecuador
Mm.
on that side. So I think that'll be quite good, just bringing a European team, hopefully, against a American team in the final that would liven things up.
Mm. I do have a slight concern for Argentina in the fact that if their route to final, as described, is simple, not that any game's simple, but it is a favourable draw, and their hardest game in the group stage is probably a Uruguay that was a very weak team,
Oh,
a weak Uruguay.
Austria, who would have been, yeah,
Yeah,
which was
so they'll potentially get all the way to the semi-final without actually playing a very decent side. Could that actually be a hindrance? Suddenly coming up against a much more quality outfit that maybe have had 1 or 2 games against some of the other decent teams. Could that actually be a hindrance to Argentina potentially? Because it's hard to judge sometimes when they are playing the likes of Austria or a Uruguay team that offered absolutely nothing this tournament. And to say that they're looking amazing sometimes doesn't paint the truest picture. Whereas those sides that have done the job, even like a Norway today, against a difficult Ivory Coast team, doing the job in 2 of their 3 games in the group stage as well, arguably showing better signs of actually coming through games against the bigger sides. Um, just a little spanner in the
yeah.
Argentinian
You,
works.
you could go either way, couldn't you? Because you could say if you have a really rigorous draw and the
Mm,
team, every 4 days playing that is absolutely exhausting in the 35-degree heat. On the other hand, Argentina having easy draws, they can rest Messi, they can nurse Alvarez back to full fitness. So I guess it
mm,
swings and roundabouts. I mean, personally, I'd rather take England. I'd rather a much easy draw to the final than playing the heavy hitters week
Sure.
in, week out. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that leads us on to the big England game. So yeah, we had the pleasure of watching the Panama game together. I don't think we'll find out too much from that game, frankly, apart from Bellingham and Kane are our two world class players. And again, they've proven it. And the fact that people were doubting Bellingham at the start, saying, "Oh, we should play Morgan Rogers, we should play this, we should play that." I think he's just proved a point. And as he said, when he scored that late equaliser against Slovenia, who else? You know, he's the man.
You say that, but I do think Bellingham is certainly deserving of a place in it. I just wonder with Harry Kane whether Bellingham is the right number 10 behind him. And potentially you could make the argument that Bellingham will actually be more effective from our number eight position, which obviously currently is held by Declan Rice. And to drop him out of the team would be a big call. Um, could you actually see a team where we drop Rice even deeper, take Anderson out, play Bellingham as an eight, and then you've got your Rodgers or whoever as your number 10? Because I do think Bellingham likes to arrive late in the box, and his timing is almost
Mm.
perfect. But when he's so far up as a number 10 already, that adjusts his timing into the box. Um, and he's probably not, and this isn't to say he doesn't have those skills, but a lot of number 10s can make a quick turn and then whereas Bellingham's not that type of number 10. And I almost see that his perfect role is the eight, where he's coming from deep, making a late run, and then getting on the end of those crosses or balls in.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
and he's
tricky
got
one,
the
isn't it?
legs. Yeah,
Yeah, because you do. I think against weaker opposition, and he tried it. To be fair, against Panama, to play two tens or two eights, however you want to look at it, with Bellingham and Rogers. I just think when we get to the business end of the tournament, if we haven't got a Mainu or Anderson holding, if we're asking Rice to hold, Bellingham to do a lot of defensive duties, and then playing a 10, we'll just
mm,
get outmanned in that midfield. I think, in qualifying, by all means, I think why not go for something like that or two tens? But I think in those big games, we do need two holders.
mm.
And Bryce is probably better as an eight than a six, frankly, as well, because then
Yeah, no, he
Rice has
is.
to give something away, doesn't he?
Yeah, so you with that age old problem of fitting people into their preferred positions. And I do think, unfortunately, and we made this commentary, that the wingers of this England team have been disappointing. And I've obviously made the case that my favourites going into the tournament were England, but it was on the provision that somehow our wingers could step up. So Saka, Rashford, Gordon, Madueke, all having tournaments of a lifetime, pretty much, or at least two of them to really shine. And I don't think any of them have. I think Saka's been unfortunate because he is carrying an Achilles
Mm.
injury, and a 92% Saka probably shouldn't be in the England team. Unfortunately, we don't need to cover
Yeah,
Madueke, but you know, um,
yeah.
it's probably not good enough. And the same goes for Gordon. Crazy
Mm.
price tag that Barcelona's pay for him. Newcastle must be laughing. Really, it's just not cutting edge enough.
Yeah, you make a fair point, and it's like I've said multiple times on this channel. If you know that Saka is injured or nursing a knock, we know Saka was at 70% at the start of the tournament, say, why do you take Maduanke, who's unproven at international level, when you've got Phil Foden or Cole Palmer that can just slot in? Moreover, I think I've been completely vindicated, whatever happens on the right back narrative as well, with now Reece James going out. Reece James can't play 3 games in a week. We know that he's a quality player, but he can't do that. The fact that then Livramento came out and he brought in Shabala, who's not a right
Mm,
back. You try and play Jarell Quansah there, and now we're going to end up playing Jed Spence, who's a very average left back, as the right back. Personally, I'd probably just put, I don't know, maybe squares in round holes, but I'd probably actually move Quansah of Aston Villa to right back and play Gahey and Stones. And then clearly O'Reilly has to start as well, because O'Reilly's our only
mm.
good fullback
Yeah.
on this. It would be my view. How about
Sure.
yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Quansah was a weird one, but he didn't really put a foot wrong, but you wouldn't expect him to against Panama. Um, Jed Spence is actually a right back. He's preferred. He's right-footed, so he
No,
can play both sides. But
it's
he is
nothing.
actually a right back. But so you could put Spence there, or really left back, and still have your preferred centre backs. Or indeed, you could put Consa there as well, and almost play Consa right back, Stones, and then when we're attacking, a really sort of goes forward, and then you play a back three on the attack, and then a really drops in. We're on the defense. That could work. Um, but you do somewhat sacrifice the right side as an effective channel with that strategy, unless of course you know because even Anderson is playing more on the right side, and he's more the defensive one. So
Mm.
you'd be then channeling a lot of your attacks down the left. Um, which if we've got Madueke on the right, maybe that's a good thing.
I mean, yeah, and I've heard that the leak in the team is we're starting with Gordon and Madueke as well. So if you think,
Mm,
okay, the core of the team, I think we both concur, is very strong. But
mm,
then you
mm,
look at
mm.
the outskirts of the team. You've got Gordon, who's just not good enough to start on current form. O'Reilly, who's a very good player but unproven, and probably a midfielder, frankly, and will be in the future. Spence, who hasn't pulled up trees at Spurs. I don't know how Spence has made the plane. And then Madueke, I really don't know what he's doing there. It's just no end product. I mean, Simon Jordan called him something fairly offensive that I won't repeat on this channel. But I mean, Jordan had a point with this in terms of Maduenke's decision making. So that is a problem. As well, we haven't. I would have liked us to give our other strikers some minutes as well. I would have liked
Yeah,
us when we scored the second goal, take Kane off straight away,
yeah,
give Tony and Watkins 30 minutes. So I mean, Tuchel really hasn't engendered himself to me. Okay, we're getting to the business part of the tournament now, but I'm not convinced from the first three games. How about you? Do you see him as just getting through and then we sort of suck it and see from here in?
yeah. I mean, like I said at the start, the biggest reflection on Tuchel will be how we perform against a team that we shouldn't beat. And the way the tournament's set up is we should be beating Congo. So if we fall out of that, then Tuchel out as far as I'm concerned. We then should be on paper at least Mexico or Ecuador, both solid teams. It'll be a very difficult game. I think if we come through, it'll give us a lot of confidence going into the quarters. But still, you'd be expecting us to get through. And then it lines up most probably a Brazil match, which that's the game where if you win that, then you've finally beaten one of the big giants of world
Mm.
football, and then you're going into that semi-final probably against an Argentina on an absolute high, and every chance of potentially getting through that as well. And if it does that, then he's vindicated. But there's lots of if buts and maybes there. I just wonder, and this is me thinking freely on my head, going into this Congo game, knowing that they're going to sit back like Ghana did, to some extent like Panama did. Do we actually go two up top? And how that would work, to my reckoning, is we actually drop the winger
Anderson,
strategy.
would you?
Well,
How would you play
you
it?
could, you could, um, or you could actually play sort of like a 4-3-1-2. That sounds weird, but you'll have your back four. You'll then have
The
Anderson as like,
diamond, the dreaded diamond.
yeah, Anderson as a pivot, Rice and Bellingham as, call them 2 8s or an 8 and a 6. You'll then have a number 10 in probably Rogers would be your preferred choice, or you could also have an Eze. And then you've got Kane and Watkins as your two up top. Just if it's the case, and I'm worried that it is, that the wingers just aren't being effective for us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't think he'll do it in terms of
Yeah.
that. I think two up top isn't the worst idea against a team like this at all. Occupy the centre backs. I think we need width. Actually, I think we need. I don't think the inverted wingers works against a low
Mm,
block like this. So the fact that we've got
mm,
Madwank coming like this, Gordon coming like that, when we actually need that, yeah, and almost, you need to reverse the wingers and play them like old-fashioned wingers in a way. Really give Bellingham a free role as a 10 would be key, and just say Bellingham almost be your best for very different players, clearly, but almost be like Messi just find the space. You don't have to worry about running around Rooney-esque, just find pockets of space in this team, pick it off. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be quite a turgid game, really, this Congo one. And they proved to be no mugs against Portugal, where they, even at 1-0 down, they adopted a sort of closed sort of war strategy, grabbed a goal
Mm.
with Vissa. And Vissa could quite easily grab a goal against us too.
Yeah.
They've got a bit of quality there. They've got Tanzabi, Wan-Bissaka, quite well-known Premier League players too. So I don't think there are any mugs. But as you say, this would go down in notoriety, like the Iceland loss if we were to lose this game,
Oh
frankly.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Lots of pressure on it. We need the big players to shine again. We should be able to do it. I just worry about the wingers, and I keep saying it, but that's what our weak point at the minute. I don't actually read too much into our defense being too weak. I still think ultimately we've got the same players we'd otherwise be starting, even if you had a Trent in there potentially. I know we've obviously weakened now that Reece James, but he's coming back, so he might not be available for Congo, but then he might be available for Mexico. He's still potentially then got like I say, Constantly Stones, D, and O'Reilly, and
Mm.
that's not a bad back four really against a Congo team. Um, so it's the wingers really that we need to be creating. And do you potentially? I think Rogers needs to be unleashed. Do you play him on the wing? Play him left wing.
I mean,
He's some
I'd rather drop. Yeah, I'd rather drop Madwang and give him a go, frankly, because
from the
I tell
right.
you, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wasn't good though against Panama. That was his chance, and Eze hasn't really. As I said, a couple of sub appearances now, hasn't really grasped the nettle enough in the
Mm,
same way that I know I keep saying it, but Palmer came on for England and has come on for England and has changed the game. So yeah, I think it might be a bit of a boring game, unfortunately. I mean, we should be getting through against Congo. But then again, you look, every team has struggled so far. I mean, everything has been goal in the last 5 minutes or penalty shootouts for the first five knockout games. So,
mm.
no knockout game is easy.
Yeah, of course, we'll see. But I mean, just linking back to sort of looking back over the tournament so far,
Mm.
I mean, there's been some real standout performances, haven't they? It's really hard to pick one. I mean, I thought after game sort of two, Mbappe was probably head and shoulders above the others, but Messi's been unbelievable. A bit of a surprise for me. I thought, yes, he would be decent this tournament, not to the heights that he of previous tournaments, and arguably he's playing even better than he did in the last World Cup when they won it. Um, so I don't know who's been your player of the tournament so far.
It's a good question. I mean, it's hard to not it's hard to look past Messi, really, isn't it? 6 goals in 3 games as well. 6 goals would have won the Golden Boot in I think 8 of the last 10 World Cups as well, and he's got that in 3 games. It's crazy. I think Mbappe in the first 2 games, Dembele in the second 2 games, as second and third games, has been terrific. Even Haaland, that's 5 goals in 3 games as well against some fairly tricky opposition, 2 against Senegal and then 1 against Ivory Coast too. So it's been wonderful to watch all of the attacking players play so well. Thankfully, I mean, you could say Ronaldo's performance against Uzbekistan was one of the highlights for me
Oh,
as well. On top of this,
Ronaldo is not even on the same league as those pre-mentioned
he'll
players.
score against Croatia. It's big game for him, incidentally, against Croatia. Never scored in a knockout World Cup game as well. And I'm
There we
sure
go.
he'll know that stat as well. So
Martinelli
yeah,
has.
exactly,
What does
exactly.
that say?
And Cisco has. A lot of people have. It's amazing. Rooney hasn't either. It's a crazy
Oh
stat.
wow. There we
Yeah,
go.
it's
Bit of trivia for you.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, what's been your favourite game so far to watch?
Funnily enough, and I only saw the highlights. I mean that game last night, the Holland game was pretty decent, wasn't it? Holland Morocco.
Mm,
It's seen from the highlights. I do think there was some very glaringly missed opportunities, but there were great goalkeeping performance, particularly from Verbruggen
mm,
for the Dutch. A last-ditch tackle from Van der Ven. Had goals, had defensive displays, and then finished on pretty entertaining penalty shootout. I thought that was probably the standout, certainly the standout knockout
mm.
game this far. The group
Yeah.
games, I mean, I mean, I just loved watching France, to be honest with you. Just the way they attack. Um, the rest of the team can just sit back in the safe knowledge that those four players um, will just do the job. And whether it's Dembele, whether it's Elise, whether it's Mbappe, you don't want any of them to be near your goal if you're defending them.
Agree. And I mean, personal highlight so far for me has got to be Brazil 3, Scotland nil. To watch that, that was as the odds of Scotland going through decreased as well throughout the course of the game. That was fantastic. That's on a lighter note. But in terms of Netherlands, it's a shame they've gone out in a way because I really enjoyed the game against Japan in their first group game. The game against Sweden, they blew Sweden away, and even the game against Morocco, as you say, was a terrific one. So perhaps the tournament's lost a little bit there with them going out as quite a offensive team at least.
Yeah, and players stepping up as well. I mean, their front three, Somerville for West Ham, not had the best season. Robbery for Sunderland, you wouldn't say he'll be a world class player. And Gap, who, he just lacks a bit, doesn't he, for Liverpool? But when he's got an orange shirt on, just seems to almost has a position of his own,
Mm,
doesn't he? Because he's not really a left winger. He's not really a centre forward. He's almost like, back in the FIFA days, you can sometimes play an LF, left forward.
mm,
He's almost that type of player. And he's quite a
it
rare
is.
breed. And he does score for Holland. So those as a threesome pre-tournament, you're looking at that thinking, well, they're not going to score many. And I was anticipating many nil-nils, 1-nils,
Mm,
scrappy games, defensively solid performances. But actually, they did concede quite a few goals during the group stage, but they scored a lot as well. So fair play to them. Probably some players there playing out the skin. Somerville's probably going to get a transfer after that. Obviously, with West Ham going down, Robbery even might be on the market. If Sunderland get a decent bid. So they could probably
mm,
hang their heads high. In some respect, though, still you'll be disappointed if you was a Dutch fan in
mm.
getting out in that round. You'd probably want them to go a bit deeper. But Morocco are a solid team and could even, you know, take on the likes of France
They
and get
can, yeah.
themselves to the semis.
Yeah, I mean, it's really lighting up this tournament as well. And if that pathway continues, as we said, Portugal, Spain as a last 16 game was absolutely mouth-watering. Okay, we were denied Germany, France, which would have also been terrific, and it would have been even better to see the Germans battered heavily by France, but great to see them get out the door anyway. But notwithstanding that, it's really, I think, getting to those business stages, like as we said, Brazil, Norway will be a terrific encounter, I'm sure. And I think, honestly, England against Mexico or Ecuador, and we'll touch on this in the next episode, but I think that will be a tricky game for us because a couple of things. We're playing at altitude and we're playing in the Azteca, so we'd be either away from home at altitude or B, we're playing against the altitude specialists, Ecuador, who their capital city Quito, the highest capital in the world. It's a tricky game, and it's something that, again, this is my chagrin at Tuchel. We haven't done requisite preparation for some of these attributes, some of these configurations. We're training in Florida. We didn't consider altitude. We haven't considered. We've been very lucky with no extreme heat matches so far, with the players gassing as well. So yeah, it remains to be seen, and a kind of trivia question for you, Ryan. But even looking at these knockout games, every knockout game is hard, right? So, how many knockout games do you think England have won away from European soil in their history in the World Cup?
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a quiz question that is.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to show my lack
If,
lack of
bonus
history.
points if you can name any of them.
So let's first identify the tournaments that have been outside of Europe. So let's go to Qatar. Did we beat a team in the knockout stage in Qatar? Yeah, we must have done. Um, who was that? Uh, trying to
So
think
we
now.
so we did, yeah. So that's one. That's Senegal that we won quite
Yeah, we beat
comfortably.
Senegal. Okay. Then we have to go back to, would it be South? Well,
Well,
Russia. Is Russia
Brazil we
classed as
didn't.
Europe?
Russia would be, yeah. So
Europe. Yeah.
Brazil, we clearly did nothing in that tournament.
Yeah. Got knocked out, didn't we? Um, South Africa 2010. Did we get knocked out by Germany? Was that the Lampard
Yeah.
goal?
Yeah,
The
that
goal that
was
never
at the
was?
16s as well. Yeah.
Right. So we must have won one knockout game in that one.
No, just groups to
Ah,
16s
okay.
back then. Yeah,
Fair.
with the configuration.
Sure, of course. 0-2 in Korea. We beat Argentina.
We did it
No,
in the group, that was.
oh, that was the group.
Yeah.
So who did we beat? We beat someone to get to the Brazil
Denmark.
game, right?
Yeah, that's
Denmark,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So that's
that's
two.
two. Yeah.
And that now you're going well before my age bracket. I mean, wasn't old enough to watch the '98, but where was that? That was in France, wasn't it?
That was France. 94, we didn't qualify.
Was America? America. Okay. So '90
Italy.
was. So yeah, beyond that, mate, I can't really
Yeah.
go much further. You're going into Gary
Exactly.
Lineker
So
set.
even yeah, so I mean that's even 40 years alone, right? And that's only so in total. So what? There's almost 96 years of the World Cup. Obviously, over half have been outside of Europe. We've only won 3 knockout games ever
Wow.
outside of Europe. We've got to win 5 in 16 days here. So that's my reservation.
Oh God, you've been on the algos, haven't you?
Oh
Crunching the
well, no,
data.
this is just hidden knowledge, mate. It just comes out for this podcast. The other one, for any viewer that can tell us the other one, gets a free T-shirt. So there you go. Any viewer that can come back to us with the just in the comments below gets a T-shirt. But I mean, that will be the challenge. So Congo should be number 4, and then I think that Mexico game. I mean, I've been listening to a few experts, and they actually think we might be underdogs for that Mexico
Wow.
Ecuador game, given the
Yeah.
altitude, given the away advantage or home away disadvantage for that. And then, yeah, let's
That was
see.
funny that watching I think it was Sky Sports with Sol Campbell on, uh, looking at England's route to the final, and we got to the Mexico England section, and he needed clarification whether that was an away tie. Not that you have many away ties in the World Cup, but
That was a good reel, wasn't it? A good meme
yeah.
in the future, that one. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. The final question really would be your thoughts on the expanded tournament format as well. And I guess follow-up question there, do you not what you think should happen, but do you think it will remain as 48 teams, or do you think it's going to be extended to 64 in fairly due course?
I doubt it'll be extended for a long time, and usually they're quite slow at developing it. My thoughts of how it's gone, I think one positive is that it has brought the lights of the Cap Verde, Curacao, that they get a draw, it holds Spain to a 0-0 draw. That's a massive thing for
Mm.
them. But really, do you necessarily want to be seeing that in the World Cup? The World Cup's meant to be, the best teams of the world. I probably would prefer the old format where 2 teams go through. The big problem with this group stage, and you saw it with Ghana as an example, is you get 4 points, you qualify. So that means win your first game, and then if you come up against a big team, just sit back
Yeah.
and is that really what football fans want to see?
Mm.
Probably not. So on balance, I'd probably go with reverting back to the old system. What I think will happen is probably it'll stick at what it is now. I can't see it extending beyond the current format.
So I concur on the 32 format. I think that was the best format. Every group stage was competitive. You normally have 3 good teams in that group with only 2 going through. I mean, with this format, Senegal won 1 game, lost 2, and still went through with 3 points, which is incredible,
Right.
really. I think the challenge is 48 to 32, as you say, makes the group stages really uncompetitive. And then it's also the algo that there were 492 different outcomes or something like that. So you can know if you need to play out a 0-0 draw like Paraguay and Australia did. So I think FIFA will say, we've found an error in the system, and then utilize that as an excuse to further expand the tournament to 64 teams as
Wow.
well, which I don't think is a good idea. I'd love to see it back at 32, but the way the game's going, I think it'll end up in the next 8 years at 64,
Yeah.
unfortunately, which, I mean, the positive of this extended tournament has been seeing African teams have an opportunity with 10 qualifying spots. 9 of them have got through to the knockouts as well. But then, in fairness, we've had too many Asian teams and Caribbean and North African teams who just aren't up to scratch qualifying, and most of them have actually gone out as well. So it sort of swings and roundabouts, but you can see why FIFA have extended it, can't you, with the old moolah?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously there's the commercial interest. That's probably why they've done it. But could you revert back to the old system, but almost have like a very competitive qualification? Obviously, you still have the continental qualification rounds, but then, those just falling short go into this sort of almost knockout there where they're facing a team from another continent for the last remaining positions or something like that. I don't know. Um,
Mm.
so then you've still got that sort of commercial element, but even so, that would be quite difficult if it is only 32 actually going through. I do think potentially they could look at the qualification
Mm.
stages, whether we can make that a bit more entertaining. They almost feel quite, just get through. We don't,
Yeah.
as long as you get through
Unless you're
you,
Italian, it's straightforward to get through, right?
yeah, but so maybe they could look at that, or even have like a qualification finale closer to the tournament. So you're already getting excited for World Cup and you don't know if you're in it yet. I don't know. There's a
Well,
few
yeah,
ways they can do it.
it's a decent shout, and maybe disregard the FIFA rankings, and you qualify, but then you have to play off for your seeding or something like that, and then you get a far easier run with the seeding, or then it actually incentivizes teams a little bit, and you can maybe play. I would actually like to see more cross confederation games. I'd like to see us playing competitive games against a Colombia or a Senegal or a Morocco more regularly, because we only get them once every 4 years, and we'll get one game against a South American and African team and so on. So if they could do
Mhm.
something to check, I mean, they've tried the Nations League. Can they do some other thing, and that would help the game grow even more in Africa, where it's clearly the hotbed of football right now, and
Yeah.
you know who's to say an African team can't win in the next 20 years or so, next World Cup. Morocco are a host after all, so who
Mhm.
knows?
If in the 48, hypothetically, again, this is just thinking off the top
Mm.
of my head, 48 team structure as it is now, could you have, how will this work? 8 groups of six. So everyone plays
Mhm.
6 games in the group stage, which will make it more competitive because there'll probably be 3 decent teams in every group sort of thing. And
Yeah.
then how many would then go through from that to get to
So,
the
you
round?
do
Yeah,
eight into six or six into eight with that.
yeah. I guess you. Well, 8 might be too many matches though, shouldn't it? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
six.
guess top two would qualify. If you do eight groups, the top two qualify from each group as well. And that would be then uber competitive. So, five group stage games and
Yeah.
then forward to the final. Honestly, I think, it's just because the calendar's so hectic. I really think this World Cup is squeezed too much. When you're playing a game every 4 days, you're probably not going to get the best football now in the knockouts as well. I don't see why they don't just give them 5 days per game,
Mhm.
or even 6 days per game. Don't need to rush it as well, because it is so condensed. I mean, we'll be playing, say if we came third, or take an extreme example, say if Argentina came third, they'd play 5 games between the 3rd of July and the 18th of July, which is just
Wow.
so much, really.
Yeah. Well, I suppose these players are used to it though, aren't they? They're used to playing,
Yeah,
three games a
yeah.
week sometimes.
I mean, I'm trying to be Martin Keown and care about player welfare here, so,
Well, you're doing a good job. Simon and Martin Kieran,
I know.
come senior again.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Look
an
a bit
interesting
like him
one that
actually,
should
that haircut.
unpick. Well, it's an interesting one we should unpick, to be honest. Maybe a guest in future we can get on to see what they think about a proposed format and what we could do about it. Because I don't think this one is perfect at all. And when there's so many, you have no idea who you're playing until a day before for some countries, which is a bit of a mess and really puts people at a disadvantage too.
Indeed.
So yeah,
Right, shall we wrap
cool.
that one up, mate? That was a good
Let's do
episode.
that.
Good chat.
Let's do that. So thank you everyone for listening. Please do like and subscribe. Best of Rivals podcast, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube. Comments are going to get free t-shirts if they're correct, and good comments as well. So Please watch this space, and we'll see you after England are through to the next round. Ciao, ciao.